I'm Batman. Hello and welcome to Waz Watch. I am Matt Wazbinski, and today we are going to take a look at Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I just saw this movie last night. Didn't get home until like 2 a.m. I had to drive to go see it in IMAX with my friend Adam, who I will actually be doing a spoiler review with later. So be looking for that. This will be a completely spoiler-free review. We will not be giving away any surprises or plot lines or anything like that in this movie. So if you have not seen the movie yet, this is A-okay to watch. Nothing will be given away, nothing major. This will be a mostly spoiler-free, not going to ruin the movie-going experience if you have not seen the movie yet review. So here we go. Batman v Superman was directed by Zack Snyder and stars Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck as Superman and Batman respectively. This film takes place after Man of Steel. We actually see a little bit of Man of Steel in this movie, and we get caught up with Batman, who is not the young, adventurous Batman that we have seen in previous films, but this is almost a worn down Batman, a little bit older version of Batman, who for the most part is retired and a little bit out of the game. He still does a little bit here and there, but he's not the every night going out and fighting criminals kind of Batman anymore. So I really did like the dynamic of this. Coming directly off of Man of Steel, you have a young Superman, relatively so. He's only been out as Superman for about 2 years now. And so he's still learning who he is and what he's about and what is good and where should he interfere and all of these different moving parts. And on the flip side of that coin, you have Batman, who's been around the block more times than he can count. He is just worn down and he almost is skeptical of everyone. He has this idea that no one is completely innocent. Everyone has a flaw. Everyone is eventually going to become corrupt, which is really cool that they kind of hint at maybe some Batman backlore that we will see in future films. So you have Superman, who is loved by some and feared or hated by others. This uncontrollable power, who now is a good guy and he is for you. But how do we know we can trust him? And that is where Batman comes in. And we see this struggle between Batman and Superman. A lot of people have asked me, well, they're both good guys. How do they end up fighting? And I won't give that away in this review, but I will say that is a main cause of the struggle, is you have this jaded Batman who is skeptical and doesn't really trust or believe in anyone looking at this outside force. And after being Batman for so long and seeing so many bad people, he almost is conditioned to believe that anyone with power, anyone who has all this strength and power, must eventually be a bad guy. That no one can just be that Boy Scout good guy looking out for the betterment of humanity. There was a lot that I really liked about this movie. And the first thing that I'm going to say is this is not a Marvel movie. And I am 100% okay with that. I feel like a lot of people are going to go into this movie with weird and unrealistic expectations. That they are expecting an Avengers movie. That they are expecting an Iron Man movie. And that is not this. But I do not say that as a critique. I do not say that as a negative thing. What I am saying is it's its own movie, it's its own universe, and we don't need to compare it to Marvel. Yes, are these the two that are kind of going head to head, and you have Avengers versus Justice League? Yes, there's going to be those comparisons. Is DC trying to recreate as far as success, Marvel? Are they trying to make that movie universe that Marvel has done so well? Yes, as far as the financial side, they want successful movies, they want successful stories, but we can't look at it and be like, why is Batman not making wisecracks like Iron Man? Why is Superman not being old timey like Captain America? We can't take two separate movies and try to say, oh, well, it's not the same as this one, so I don't like it. We need to view this movie as just a movie. No yardstick comparison. No, oh, well, in the Avengers or in Iron Man or in this or in the other Batmans, blah, blah, blah. Just enjoy this movie. I feel like a lot of people are going to give this movie a bad rating or come out of this movie not super pumped about it because they're like, it wasn't like other Batmans and it wasn't like Iron Man and it wasn't like Thor and it wasn't like Captain America. It's not Thor. It's not Captain America. It's not the old Batman movies. And while I do enjoy the old Batman movies, they have a lot of flaws. If you go back, nostalgia glasses off, and watch those films, and then watch something, even the old Superman films. Interesting fact about Superman 1, there's literally not a single fight in that movie. Like, there's no fighting. There's no action scenes. Like, it's all just dialogue and Superman flying around really fast. And then you watch Man of Steel and you're like, oh, I wish that it was like the Christopher Reeves Superman. Honestly, I don't. I think that that was good in its time. I think that it has a place and is a good film by itself. But if you compare the two, they're two completely different films. And I think that's something that we need to do right away, is say that these are different. This Batman is different than, let's say, the Dark Knight trilogy or even the Tim Burton Batmans. This is a different Batman, different age, different kind of settings. Same thing with Superman. This is not the Christopher Reeve Superman. This is a young Superman who's still trying to figure stuff out, and that is okay. Don't compare this movie to other things because you're going to have nostalgia wrapped up in it. You're going to be like, well, I would have done it this way. You need to just enjoy this movie. Some of the things that I did not like about this movie was I was not a huge fan of the Alexander Luthor or the Lex Luthor of this movie. Jesse Eisenberg played him. He didn't do horrible, but I think that he was just a little bit trying too hard. He was a little bit like, ooh, 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 ooh. Like he was trying to be weird. And I think that in trying to be weird, it came across as you're not genuinely weird. You're just, oh, that's what weird people do, so I'm going to do that. And so that was a little bit distracting at points. I will talk a lot more in my spoiler review about specifics of what I did and did not like, but there were a few characters that weren't really cast in the way that I would like them to be cast. I will say this, and I feel like I can say this without it being a spoiler because it was in the trailer, but I was pretty actually okay with the villain reveal at the end. I think it was a lot less Spider-Man 3 than I thought. It wasn't like they just threw in Doomsday at the end just to do it and then they fight for 5 minutes. Like, there's a little bit more to it than that. So, could it have been done better? Yes, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. The action scenes in this movie are phenomenal. Whether it's going back and seeing Batman during Man of Steel and all that destruction between Superman and Zod and seeing Batman in that arena, whether it's seeing the fighting between Batman and Superman or any sort of fight that takes place or any action scene that takes place. So good. So good. My biggest complaint about this movie, though, would be I feel like they tried to cram too much into one movie. I feel like they were trying so hard to build the foundation for the Justice League series of movies, the next Supermans and Batmans and Wonder Womans and Flashes and Aquamans and Cyborgs. They were trying so hard to build the foundation because this is called Dawn of Justice. This is the one that kicks it all off. But I feel like they were trying so hard to build that foundation that they kind of forgot at times that they were building a house by itself called Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. That so much setup was for the next movies that it kind of took away from this movie. And it just felt like, I feel like you could have been a lot more subtle with things, especially with how long of gaps are in between movies and how many people there are like me who break down movies online and in articles and just talking with each other. If you have a year or 2 years in between movies and you subtly hint to things, then people are going to be like, well, what about this? And sharing theories, and it just creates a discussion. But when you just throw things on the screen and say, hey, guess what? There it is! For the Justice League and for the Flash and for Wonder Woman, when you just throw it out there, then it kind of takes the fun away from it. It takes the suspense away. That post Marvel, I know I just said I was not going to compare him to Marvel, but when Marvel does post-credit scenes, and then you kind of have to Google, who is that guy? And why is that important? And who is that guy? And is this cool? Or why are they there? And is that a strong guy? Is he good? Is he bad? When you have to figure that out in between movies, that's part of the fun of it. And so when you just throw it out there and say, hey, here's that person, they're coming up, then it kind of takes away a little bit for me. So sometimes I felt like the movie was trying to cram too much setup for next movies, for future movies, that it almost took away from the current movie. Ben Affleck is perfect. He is very, very good. Whether he's playing Bruce Wayne or whether he's playing Batman, he knocks it out of the park. So good in so many ways. Henry Cavill, I liked Man of Steel. I thought it was a very solid movie, and I think he's a very solid Superman. I feel like most critiques of him are when you have rose-colored glasses of Christopher Reeves on and the good old days of Superman, and he's just not going to be that Superman. And so people automatically don't like him. I think he does a really solid job. I think that he has that inner struggle of what is good and what am I responsible for and what is required of me because of my powers. But when there's all this pushback of people not wanting him to be that superhero, not wanting to be that good guy, one thing people complain about is Batman using guns. Guess what? Besides the Dark Knight series, Batman uses guns a lot. Go back, watch Batman, watch Batman Returns. Watch all these films, and even watch like the Arkham games. And even if you watch some of the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, he probably killed some people. Yeah, okay, we can say, oh, he disarmed them. But that person's probably paralyzed for the rest of their life after getting knocked off a building. Like, can we just all agree that, oh yeah, that's cool, that dilemma of, oh, you don't kill people, blah, blah, blah. But one, I think it really fits with this character because he is that, I've seen it all. Bad guys are always going to be bad, no matter what. They're the worst, and I just can't take them anymore. And so he just goes kind of all out and is just shooting people up and blowing things up and all that sort of stuff. But if you watch old Batman movies, he does that anyways. So I don't think that that's a very good critique of it. Anyways, so to wrap up, my pros of this movie: the special effects, awesome. The acting, besides a few parts, but Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, awesome. I think that some of the surprises and the plot twists were done pretty well. Some of the negatives, I feel like there were some over CGI-ness. Especially near the end. I feel like the conflict between Batman and Superman resolves itself a little bit too cleanly. I actually liked the setup of why they were fighting, but then eventually they do stop fighting, and I feel like that was just a little bit too clean. Kind of happened too fast. Like, I hate you! Never mind, I don't really hate you. Like, it just was too sudden and too soon. I would have liked to see that sort of evolve maybe during the fighting or something along those lines. But I feel like that could have been a little bit more well-developed. I feel like they were trying to set up for Justice League movies a little bit too much and it took away from the actual story that we were watching right now. Overall, this was a phenomenal film. I think, like I said earlier, I think most of the critiques are going to come from people who have seen Marvel movies, who nostalgically love old Batman movies, even the Dark Knight movies or old Superman movies, and say it's not that. And I feel like that's just an unfair criticism. I think you have to watch this movie by itself, enjoy it. It's fun. It's action-packed. The acting is good. The special effects are good. It sets up a universe that we are excited to see. And yes, you can nitpick at it. And you can say, oh, well, this wasn't that great, or this could have been a little bit more well-developed. And there's actually a 3-hour version. This one was 2.5 that's coming out. And hopefully, I think that will piece some things back together, because there were some chunks that I felt like, okay, those could have been expanded on a little bit more. But just enjoy it. I feel like nowadays, people are so looking for something to hate about something and pick it apart and, oh, well, that's not going to do that. And, oh, well, in the Avengers, they did this. And in the old Batman, it was like that. If we could just kind of erase that, I mean, all great films, love them, super looking forward to Civil War. But let's just take a breath and say Batman and Superman are on the screen together. The actor playing Superman is good. The actor playing Batman is great. And they're fighting. And there's bad guys. And there's explosions. And you need to save the world. Like, can't we just enjoy that? Remember when, like, you were a kid, and maybe this is just me, but you were a kid, and you had action figures, and you had a Superman action figure, and a Batman action figure, and a Spider-Man action figure, and that was one of the things that everyone was so excited about with the Avengers, is kind of like having your own toy box. And that's kind of what this was. You got to see a lot of really cool things. There's a lot of really cool setup, which makes me excited for the next films, but still enjoyed this film. I thought it was really fun. I'm going to see it again, and I would highly recommend that you go see it. I'm going to give Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice an A-. I was really debating between like a B+ and an A-, but I feel like a lot of this film and the critiques that I have with it always stem back to, well, the old Batman or the old Superman, or worrying too much about how they're going to build off of it, that I'm not enjoying what they gave me. There were some flaws. There are some things that I think they could have done better, but at no point in this film was I screaming at the screen like, you idiots, you ruined it. They could do a lot of really cool things with this new universe, and I think that this one set it up pretty well, sometimes a little bit rushed, but it's just a good movie. Solid acting, solid film work, solid script. So I'm going to give it an A-, and I know that might not be super popular, but seriously, guys, enjoy it. It's fun. It's a great movie. You went there to be entertained with your big old popcorn and your big old pop, and you got to see two of the greatest heroes of all time on the screen together battling. It's awesome. Let it be awesome. Well, that is my review of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. What did you think? Have you seen it? Are you planning on seeing it? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, our question of the day is, what are you looking forward to the most out of this new Justice League universe? Are you looking forward to more Justice League movies, Wonder Woman, a Batman movie, a Superman movie, a Flash movie, a Cyborg movie, Suicide Squad? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos. We really do appreciate when you guys do this. Make sure you check out all my other movie reviews as well. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Also, be paying attention, because soon we will be posting a spoiler-filled review where we can kind of talk about this movie a little bit more in depth. Please try to not put spoiler stuff in the comments if you do leave a comment, and just wait for that next video, and then we can talk about it, where we think the movies are going, what we thought more specifically about this movie. And I will be joined actually by my friend Adam, who is a huge Superman buff. He loves Superman, and I saw it with him last night at the IMAX, so I'm excited to get his take on it as well. As always, I'm Batman. I'm kidding. I'm Matt Wozbinski, and thank you for watching.